Based in Perth, Western Australia, Mr. Vinod Tiwari leads the Power Ledger's global business development and sales teams. Mr. Vinod is leveraging his many years working within the energy sector with Perth Energy, Future Effect, and Regen Power to connect with client stakeholders and formulate global partnerships and alliances across power and business domain, as well as across various third-party providers in Australia and overseas market to support the delivery of Power Ledger's blockchain offering for energy trading, renewable energy certificate trading, and renewable asset financing. Mr. Vinod Tiwari has been a thought leader and has presented on blockchain energy use cases at various energy forums around the world, including UNESCO and US Capitol Hill. Mr. Vinod has over 25 years of experience in operations, developing strategic partnerships, new market, and providing leadership in senior sales and business development role within the renewable energy and other engineering industries. Most recently, Mr. Vinod was General Manager retail at Perth Energy between 2007 to 2016, where he successfully grew the energy sales portfolio turnover to more than $300 million in a short period. Previous roles including managing engineering, technical sales and business development of GE companies joint venture with Wipro in India. Mr. Vinod holds Bachelor of Engineering in Electrical and Electronics and Master of Business Administration from University of Western Australia. He also participated at the Executive Leadership Program at University of California, Berkeley, USA. With this very short brief introduction of Mr. Vinod Tiwari, I kindly request Mr. Vinod Tiwari to start his tutorial session. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Namaste and good day from Western Australia. It is always a huge pleasure talking to Indian audience, and it actually gives me goosebumps when I get an opportunity to speak to energy community in India. Only yesterday, and I see Mr. P.K. Agarwal is also online as well. So we had this grand launch of our project in UP with UP ERC and UP PCL, UP NIDA. Mr. Agarwal was part of the advisory group as well. He attended as well. So it's a huge pleasure and an honor and privilege to speak to I suppose my own community. I moved here 25 years ago, and now to be able to take our world-leading solutions back to Indian market gives me immense pleasure, and I feel very privileged. And I feel very privileged to speak to Indian power sector, power community as well. So thank you for inviting me for this session. I suppose without further ado, then if you permit me, I will share my screen and get into the actual presentation itself. Is that okay?
So you can start sharing your screen. I made you co-host. So
okay,
you can now able to share your screen. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So I will get to the. All right, you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so the topic today is about blockchain technology and how it is inspiring energy applications and grid resiliency. So very relevant, and I'm talking to already the converted energy experts. So I won't get into the basics, but of course, take you through the journey that Power Ledger has gone through as well, and created its solution. So we've been now in this space for over 4.5 years, and created some pioneering applications using blockchain technology in energy use cases, and also very specifically in the grid resiliency space as well. Of course, the traditional energy system, even if you are not from energy markets or energy industry, you would realize that this is how it looked like for several years, 8, 9, 10 decades, where consumer got supplied electricity from large transmission distribution network through centralized power stations. And this is how the system was for almost 100 years. But it started to change a few years ago with the onset of new technologies in the renewable energy space. Consumers started to getting empowered, and we've started to see rooftop solar and all other types of renewable energy in the mix. But the trend, of course, that's been very clear is the centralized power solutions or centralized power generators still there, but there is obviously decentralization, and the grid's now moving towards distributed grid. And what that looks like, depending on where you are in which geography globally, it starts to mimic virtual microgrids or federation of microgrids, or where energy is not just flowing in one directional or linear direction as it used to be. I mean, grid was always created to be dealing with linear flow of energy. But we are starting to see reverse or multi-directional flow of energy from, I have rooftop solar. When I'm not using all of that energy, it flows back to the grid. So does my neighbor, and so on, and others. People also have home energy storage system, or there are community batteries, or there are electric vehicles that are starting to change the energy landscape. So it's almost starting to become, at least in various parts of the world, almost like a hybrid microgrid mimicking system, or hybrid grid, where there is a role of microgrid, there is a role of virtual microgrids, even if there is not a physical microgrid. And in this sort of changing landscape, in many parts of the world, the regulatory framework and the pricing structure, the tariff structure hasn't really kept up to it. So we see a lot of gaps, therefore, in how do you enable this transition in an orderly way, where renewable that is coming on the grid can be scaled up and scaled up without breaking the system. And the picture depicts a lot of distributed energy resources, but of course, there is equally large-scale renewable coming in the mix as well, and which also happens to be variable in nature. So you get intermittent renewable generation. So solar comes on when there is sun, wind comes on, wind power comes on when there is wind. And the grid operators, of course, have this challenge to deal with this intermittency of renewable on the grid. And I'll sort of expand this bit more as we progress along, but many businesses around the world, of course, are also committing to 100% renewable, which means there are pricing signals going to more renewable generation on the grid. They are underwriting corporate PPAs as well. So with all of that changing dynamics, we're starting to see various challenges and issues that are starting to emerge on the grid. And this curve, this graph, many of you would recognize is the famous or infamous duck curve. As my executive chairman, Gemma Green, says, it looks nice, but it's nothing to quack about, because this actually is a major headache for the grid operators. And in countries like Australia, Germany, parts of US and California, where there is high penetration of renewable energy, we're starting to see the real issues with duck curve. And this is a load duration curve. During daytime, as you can see, the load just disappears because it is serviced by renewable energy on the grid, which just comes on, and it takes precedence over the previously servicing synchronous generation, or where there was rotation devices that were, or generating devices that were servicing the grid, are also providing thermal inertia. And you all know that thermal inertia is necessary for transmission of electricity. So what happens now is where there are market signals and pricing signals, in many of these markets, there are negative price events during daytime. And that's forcing these synchronous generations, which were, which are the base load generation power plants. Their scheduling is becoming difficult because they can't just be ramped up and down as quickly as the load demands it. So in this scenario, if you don't have the synchronous generation, then you're facing the energy system security risk as well. And those are, the type of challenges. And again, when the sun disappears, 5 p.m., 6 p.m. onwards, the load comes back on. So these base load synchronous generation are then required to be ramped up. They're not designed to do that. And also the market signals, which hits negative prices, means that some of them will exit. And if they exit, how do the grid operators deal with that issues? So in the midst of all of these massive changes, and what I was highlighting in the first 3-4 slides, as you would have made out, is just setting the scene and telling you the issues that the power industry is facing with the new technology that's coming in. Huge opportunities, huge challenges. It's making the grid green, but it is also posing problems as well. In the midst of all these massive changes that are taking place, PowerLedger's market-making technology bridges the gaps in the system to make it more fluid and responsive. And how do we do it? So we do it through a suite of solutions. And at the core of our solution mix is blockchain technology. So we use blockchain as the core technology that allows us to spin off marketplaces. Marketplaces for energy trading, for environmental commodity trading, for flexibilities trading, virtual power plants, for responding to frequency control ancillary services, and also at the other extreme end, enabling efficient buying and selling of PPAs as well. Because we did talk about corporate PPAs becoming a norm as well. So creating marketplace for PPAs as well. So a whole range of our solutions, so they can broadly be categorized in energy and flexibilities trading as one basket of solutions, and then environmental commodities trading, which is renewable energy certificates, and also potentially creating blockchain-enabled renewable energy registry as well, because it does offer all those benefits that a REC registry would require. So I'll quickly mention some of these solutions which directly respond to the issues that I posed that the energy systems operators are currently facing. So what XGrid does is it enables trading of energy on peer-to-peer basis. So if I have rooftop solar, I don't have to sell my excess energy back to the grid. I can potentially trade it with my neighbors or someone else down the street, or store that in a community energy battery and reuse it, or offer that for multiple other services. UGrid is our feature that allows similar operation, but behind the meter. So this behind the meter could be in an apartment complex, for example, or a gated community where there may be joint ownership of community solar, for example. Energy can be equitably allocated from that jointly owned asset. And if people who own that share of energy are not using it, they are away from home, or their work patterns are such that they work away from their house from, let's say, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. That share of energy can be traded with other participants so that they can monetize their share as well. And then next set of applications, balance VPP. This is about, as the name suggests, virtual power plant, enabling aggregation of distributed batteries. And these could be residential batteries, behind people's residential meters, or it could be commercial, industrial meters, or even it could be front of the meter battery as well. So aggregating batteries to enable not just for reducing self-consumption power bills, but also for enabling their participation in other services. And these other services could be improving resiliency of the grid itself, or also taking advantage of market price signals and places like Australia, US, many parts of Europe have wholesale electricity markets which are very volatile. I'll give you an example. In the national electricity market in Australia, the average price clears at around $50 per megawatt hour, but in the extreme events, that can go up to $14,500 per megawatt hour. Take that. So from $50 average to certain events when it is $14,500 per megawatt hour. So when the market does need those types of, or whenever it is in that high end, the owners of these distributed batteries could potentially participate in energy arbitrage opportunities using our VPP platform. And they can also aggregate this excess capacity, or our platform enables aggregation of this excess capacity for participation in grid balancing services, for frequency control, for example, for contingency frequency control services. And again, there are very mature markets where Australia or parts of Europe again require 5-second market or 1-minute market or 5-minute market. So these batteries can provide raise or lower services to balance the frequency, and our platform enables that participation. Again, the next item is in the grid resiliency space, which is even more advanced solution, and something that the world's picking up on is flexibilities marketplace. And I understand that yesterday and also in some other sessions, various groups are also talking in this conference as well about flexibility services. So MODE, the name suggests, marketplace for optimization of distributed energy. What that enables, and I will talk a bit more detail further down in my presentation, is it creates an ecosystem of energy asset owners of DERs, which can be aggregated. And these could be simply demand-side response devices, or could be batteries, or could also be electric vehicles. And these could be aggregated for providing various balancing services for distribution network operators. Vision and PPA Vision are almost like the basic solution or basic building block that again are enabled through blockchain, where we verify and track and provide the traceability of energy, where it is coming from and who's using it at any given time. And it is a very significant application, especially in the realm of green energy supplies, where more and more the green energy users are needing that authentication, that they want the guarantee that it is green. So we provide that verification tracking mechanism, and we have multiple projects deployed around the world, and I will talk a little bit about them when I later in my presentation. PPA exchange is a new solution, but it is, as I mentioned earlier, marketplace for corporate PPAs, for example, making it simpler for even SMEs, small medium enterprises, to enable getting into power purchase agreements. It is a fairly involved process, as most of you would already know. Getting a PPA is not that easy. It involves legal vetting, a long negotiation, etc. But a marketplace, again, like a blockchain-enabled marketplace, can make it very simple through reverse auction process and some standard PPA templates. So that's what we're rolling out as well. And then finally, environmental commodities trading, which is a huge application for blockchain, because it makes, again, spinning off of marketplaces. So you can place a very efficient marketplace where the physical and financial transactions are one and the same. So it cuts out many intermediaries in the process around the world. These types of applications, these types of renewable energy certificate trading is typically done over the counter or through bilateral negotiations. Doing it on a blockchain-enabled marketplace brings in a higher level of transparency, ease of doing business, and liquidity of trade. And Trace X is that product, and Trace is the registry itself, where you can onboard renewable energy assets and you sort of tokenize the megawatt hour into creating a REC, and its entire life journey can be tracked so that there is no duplication possible. It is guaranteed, it's tokenized, and as it moves from one buyer to another until it is surrendered against someone's liability, the entire life journey is tracked. So in this sort of set of applications, I'm also covering how blockchain is inspiring energy use cases. So, right in front of you, there are at least, these 7 or 8 very fledgling use cases that Power Ledger has implemented, and not only conceptualized, but actually implemented, deployed around the world. To get into sort of a little bit deeper detail as to how we use the blockchain itself. And I'm assuming there is general awareness, so I'm not getting the detail of what is blockchain. I'm sort of taking its application and why it is beneficial, and how we use it in energy applications that we've rolled out ourselves. So we start with the smart meter data, because you of course need the data and depending on the application, whether it is to do with energy trading or flexibilities trading or environmental commodity trading, you then create the smart contracts, which will help optimize the trading logics that are required to create the value that is required from that solution. So whether it is to do with energy buy and sell, or to do with renewable energy certificates buy or sell, or even creating a registry, the whole thing starts from the smart meter data, which needs to be communicated to our platform. In the blockchain world, typically the settlement is done through tokens, and it doesn't have to be, you can do it prepaid or postpaid. When you're dealing with postpaid scenario, then these tokens really are behind the scene. They don't, no one needs to really procure except the licensee or the application host which runs the platform. They procure what is called as the license token or power token in our instance, that releases sparks as part of the smart bond. It creates liquidity of sparks, which then are used between prosumers and consumers for buying and selling of energy. But again, as I said, if it is a postpaid environment, then the prosumers, consumers never see any spark themselves. It is all done in the background, and all the settlements are done in the local fiat currency. So a quick physical requirement check on where is the flow of process flow of energy taking place. So smart meter and communication, of course, required from the data perspective. That meter data typically is sent through some kind of cloud signal, cloud platform, and then from there aggregated and provided to Power Ledger platform. Now this could be, if it is as close to real time, you would see these transactions as close to real time as well. In many instances, even these steps, which look simple, could become very complex, and the data might not be available every 15-30 minute interval for communication purposes. I mean, they might be able to read the interval data, but not be able to send. So if it is sent once a day, then obviously all the trades will be done retrospective when the data is received. So the whole range of solutions that we've rolled out, peer-to-peer electricity trading across the regulated electricity network. I want to probably just pause here to explain that it's not just about sharing and trading of excess energy from one user to another. There are multiple derivative applications of peer-to-peer energy trading as well, where it could be houses selling to, as I mentioned, to a battery, and then that battery could act as an energy arbitrage storage device itself and sell back to the community. So you can create energy communities using peer-to-peer energy trading solution as well. Or you can also, there are businesses I mentioned who have committed to, let's say, RE100 type of program. So as part of their strategy, they would be procuring renewable energy either through their energy retailer or through power purchase agreements from renewable energy generators, or both. They can also potentially source renewable energy from rooftop solar or from their customers. So if you are a retail brand, a supermarket, you could potentially buy energy from hundreds of thousands of people's rooftop solar, their excess energy, and pay them back in loyalty credits. So you would have margin to play with as well. So you may be able to buy that energy at a higher margin, so that you encourage and incentivize them to support your retail brand. So utilizing this application, there are multiple other trading possibilities which result in the bigger objectives or sustainability objectives of businesses that could be achieved out of this as well. UGrid, and we have various deployments where there is jointly held, I'll talk about one deployment here in Australia. There were 30, 40 houses in a microgrid environment, each of them with 5 or 6 kilowatt rooftop solar. And there's a battery, a community battery behind the meter as well. Their excess energy is stored in the battery. And when that transaction takes place, they actually receive, in Australia, we have feed-in tariff. So the battery actually pays them 20-30% more than the feed-in tariff price. And when they want to reuse the energy from the battery, their own stored energy, they can buy it for 10% cheaper than grid price. So as a consumer, you're always benefiting in these types of arrangement. And our platform becomes a verification, tracking, and a billing device, which enables instantaneous settlement of these transactions as well. So multiple benefits, as you can see, tenants can access cheaper, greener electricity. It can be implemented on greenfield or brownfield developments. And it also enables real-time settlement, detailed billing, and usage data, and all done in a fairly seamless and efficient way. So clearly, in Indian perspective, if we see where the applications could be, shopping centers, wherever you have large roof space and there are multi-tenants in that commercial building, this could be applicable. It could be also in a gated community or a retirement village where people can again share, trade, or gift their excess energy to whoever they want to. So it doesn't have to be always with a price value. One might want to donate or access their or gift their excess energy to a charity or to a sports center that they might want to support, or to their friends or relatives as well. So all of those transactions are possible, and we are actually implementing them in many locations. And then about environmental commodity trading. So we talked about, you can monetize your megawatt hours, and of course our platform can be the registry as well as the marketplace for efficient buying and selling of these renewable energy certificates. And in that scenario, once again, we have to, for the registry purposes itself, and this kind of block diagram almost suggests how this can be achieved easily. You onboard the asset, and through smart meter data, you create the readings become the megawatt hour. The megawatt hour becomes REC, and they are digitized and tokenized, and then made available on TraceX platform for buying and selling. And as it moves from one buyer to another, the entire life journey is tracked until it is surrendered against someone's liability. And then I think virtual power plants and flexibility functions. These are the two, of course, very critical to what's happening on the grid now. And whilst some grid operators might say that large sort of connected grid like India probably will not ever have duck curve type of issues, but when you do get the kind of huge targets that Prime Minister Modi has about renewable energy on the grid, you would start to see those issues, and for that you need solutions, and the solutions pretty much would be, amongst many other things, will be from DERs, and DERs will start to play a major role where distribution network service providers or distribution network operators, as whatever they may be called, will start seeking these services from assets owned by their own customers. In Australia, for example, in the recent rule change, every distribution company, before they go in for infrastructure upgrade, for anything more than $5 million worth upgrade, they have to look for non-network solutions, and these they would be very they are highly encouraged to look at DER-based non-network solutions. So virtual power plants and flexibilities, rest of the flexibility solutions will fit into that category. VPPs have been around for some time, and obviously they allow these asset owners to participate in energy arbitrage, load shaping, power quality management, and also participation in ancillary services and the whole range of other network control services. What does blockchain do in that? So blockchain enables instantaneous value transfer and creation of smart contract bridge, which enables optimization and auto bidding of services from these assets. So for example, we can for on the right hand side that you see all these services, multiple services, the optimized VPP through blockchain will be able to see wherever the best value is. So it will participate for the same time interval in that service. So it optimizes for the best financial return, or it could optimize for the best grid service that the grid operator might want to see. It expands, so from virtual power plant, which the application category that we have, we call it balance, and flexibility services are pretty much the bigger play. They're the bigger ecosystem, and they come from, as the picture here suggests, some of these kind of fonts are fairly small, but if you see one of these boxes or circles says MASP, which is Market Ancillary Service Provider, providing ancillary services, which might be coming from a VPP provider, a shopping center asset owner, which might own maybe rooftop solar and commercial battery. These and multiple such owners could also become part of that aggregated service, which could operate either in spot market or through retailer and provide various network control services. And these could be for voltage imbalances or reactive power management or management of peak demand. What Power Ledger solution does is it integrates with the likes of ADMS devices or ADMS solutions from the grid operators, where their network congestion planning is done, and the network congestion details are then converted into day ahead or week ahead or intraday market for flexibility. where the platform itself or our solution itself allows the network operators to contract for those services and allows for that contracting at a very granular level as well, where you can get down to a transformer or feeder or street level congestion and requirement of flexibilities from DER asset owners from these distributed services, you know, at a very granular level, rather than, you know, just looking for maybe 100 megawatt increase or decrease. So you can get down to specific substation, feeder, transformer level type of services as well. And typically these will obviously come from the range of DERs. These could be fleet of electric vehicles. It could be grid connected batteries behind the meter or front of the meter. And it could also be multiple houses with IoT appliances connected, participating in demand side response. So all of these combined, and the ecosystem will look like aggregators, retailers, providing these services to distribution network operators. And of course, the key customer for these services would be the network operator. And we're already starting to see this requirement in many markets. UK is probably leading the space, also in many other markets in Europe as well, where big TSOs are seeking these services and distribution companies are seeking these services. And also in Australia, a whole range of, we call distribution companies here, distribution network service providers. So DNSPs have a clear roadmap of becoming DSOs, distribution systems operator, where they want to control their own flexibility services. So DERs through blockchain and solution like what PowerLedger offers, the optimized service enabling smart contract based optimized service for enabling these flexibility services for DSOs. Key features, of course, these could be, as I mentioned, forward-facing market capabilities, week ahead, day ahead, or intraday market, and would offer through blockchain smart contracting functionalities and optimized functions. And again, the key feature of blockchain being near real-time settlement as well. So all these, you don't have to wait for end of the month settlement. You can actually progress to creating these asset owners could get paid for their services almost instantaneously as soon as they offer these services. Another key feature of mode would also be in the area of visibility of these assets, because typically, when you're asking for spinning reserve or other similar services that are previously provided by large power stations, grid operators typically know where these asset owners, what their capabilities are. With DERs, that's kind of a bit of an unknown. So our platform provides the visibility of these assets. It also provides predictability of their performance and controllability of these assets. So, which are obviously the key factors for any grid operator who's dealing with flexibility on the grid. So this story pretty much takes you that we look at the issues of scaling of renewable almost holistically, from vision, traceability of energy, through to trading of energy, flexibilities and trading of flexibilities, including virtual power plants, and also at the other end, enabling trading of monetizing and trading of environmental commodities and power purchase agreements as well. So effectively, our software enables scaling up of renewable on the grid without breaking the system. And that's pretty much on the technology itself. Now, we're not only about concepts or this is how the system should work. We've actually demonstrated through various projects around the world, including some now in India as well. And I mentioned, so in the next few slides, I will go through some real deployments around the world. And some of those might be pilot, but these pilots provide a real proof of concept as to what can be done through these technologies. So we are very proud to be associated with our project in the state of UP, where we are partnering with ISGF. ISGF are our partners in India, India Smart Grid Forum. And this project is sanctioned by the UP Electricity Regulatory Commission. UPPCL is the utility, of course, where the project is implemented in the city of Lucknow. At the moment, there are 12 prosumers and consumers who are participating in this peer-to-peer energy trading project. It is about rooftop solar trading, rooftop solar excess energy trading, and we'll be trialing multiple trading logics. So I mentioned a few sort of enabling. So in UP, if you have excess energy, you sell back to the grid, you get a feed-in tariff of 2 rupees. Your buying rate might be around 7 rupees. So you have an opportunity to do energy arbitrage between 2 and 7 that you can, when you're selling back to maybe, or selling to your peers or your neighbors or other community members. They may be able to procure cheaper, clean energy from you, your excess rooftop solar, and be part of a renewable economy, even though they might not have their own rooftop solar. At the same time, on one front, it allows the renewable energy asset owners to monetize their asset and get better return on investment. It allows other consumers who cannot afford to buy rooftop solar or do not have the right roof space to have rooftop solar to be part of this renewable economy. And also, if it is designed correctly, it can deal with, through price signals, any excess reverse flow can be dealt with through this supply and demand price matching. So the energy doesn't need to sort of flow back to the grid infrastructure. And it'll be used up within that localized energy market. So it can also deal with the potential reverse flow issues that may arise with too much of excess reverse flow on the grid and affecting the performance of the grid infrastructure. So there are benefits for DISCOM, there's benefit for prosumers and consumers, and we've launched this project just recently. And of course, looking forward to seeing how it progresses and evaluating the benefits and how this can be scaled up. It's great to see that the regulator is watching it very closely as well. So potentially will have an impact on regulatory environment for further scaling up of these type of solutions. We also have recently just formed partnership with Tata Power for a similar project in Delhi, and we will talk more about it once that project is formally announced. I noticed that Abhishek Ranjanji was also on one of the panels just recently, in either today or yesterday, one of the industry panels. So we worked on a desktop trial. This was not a live trial, but we did a desktop study to see how installations in gated communities in Delhi could also benefit from either peer-to-peer energy trading, so selling cross tariff selling. So someone in residential tariff could sell to higher industrial tariff customer and get the benefit of that arbitrage opportunity. At the same time, also participate through virtual net metering and group net metering solutions that Delhi already allows for. So moving on from projects in India, I'll give a bit of a sort of feel of some of our other global projects. In France, we are working with Equator. This is a very kind of nimble, dynamic green energy retailer, 4th or 5th largest in France. They have about close to 250,000 customers, and they're all getting 100% renewable energy. but they're now looking at a higher level of empowerment, where they want more granularity on how they buy the energy. So through our platform and the vision feature of our platform, or traceability that I mentioned earlier, these consumers can select tomorrow they want to buy 50% solar energy from that solar farm, or 20% wind energy from a wind farm that they want to support, or maybe balance 30% from their community rooftop solar. So they can get down to that level of granularity, and as long as the generation and the consumption meters are on the platform, we are able to concurrent matching of generation consumption is possible, and we're doing that on our platform. So it's a very exciting project. It is linked with a bigger project that Equator is doing, and they have created an app where PowerLedger is the backend solution for providing this choose your energy mix that they offer to their customers. Another project in Europe, this is in Austria, in the city of Graz. We did a peer-to-peer energy trading project, and it was like a almost sort of testing a business model of how this will support what's to come from 1st of January in Austria, which is called as Clean Energy Package and Energy Communities Regulation. So they're already looking at enabling easier purchase and easier use of renewable energy in the communities, where there is peer-to-peer energy trading possibilities. There's sharing, gifting of energy within the energy communities, and they have created levels of where you are, which voltage level you are connected to, and that allows for the level of flexibility you have with peer-to-peer. But potentially in some instances, when these peer-to-peer trades occur, there is about 60% discount available for the use of for distribution infrastructure. So we are very excited because there are very clear commercial signals in Austria now to implement these types of projects. In US, we're working, we've got multiple projects. We have a partnership with American PowerNet, and we tested on PJM grid. This is in Pennsylvania. A classical peer-to-peer energy trading project, but beyond this, so with American PowerNet, we are looking at multiple other potential deployments. They tend to deal with very large commercial and industrial institutional customers, 5 megawatt and above. So as part of their energy sales and energy supplies strategy, they're looking at how they can use community energy assets and also enable loyalty peer-to-peer that I previously mentioned as well. This is a renewable energy certificate project, and Clearway Energy Group, which has a portfolio of more than 6,000 megawatt of renewable energy and operates out of multiple states in US. Together with them, we are in the process of now launching the commercial renewable energy certificate trading marketplace in North America. It is a huge market. More than $3 billion of RECs are traded in the compliance market there. And then obviously there is a voluntary market as well. And again, as I mentioned, a lot of it is over-the-counter trade or bilateral trades. So bringing that marketplace will bring in lots of efficiencies. And again, without blockchain, the kind of efficiency gains we are talking about are not possible. And in the same space, we have started collaborating or integrating with existing registries as well. So Midwest Renewable Energy Tracking System is one of those registries. They're based out of Minnesota, but they're not just in Midwest. They are national registry for voluntary program and also for some compliance programs as well. And they also the trades that take place through this registry in Canada as well. So through an API, we are integrating with that registry, and we'll overlay our marketplace, TraceX marketplace, for buying and selling of green certificates. We did a pilot project in Silicon Valley with Silicon Valley Power in the city of Santa Clara. And this was a unique project it's very closely linked with renewable energy certificates, but it is kind of addresses, in California, they have a program called Low Carbon Fuel Standards Program. It is a compliance program, which is administered by a regulator, Clean Air Resources Board of California. And the way it works in the transportation sector, if you are a fuel importer, hydrocarbon fuel importer or fuel supplier, the likes of BP, Shell, Chevron, etc., and if your carbon intensity of your portfolio is above the baseline that was set around 9 or 10 years ago, then you are a liable entity and you have to procure credits to acquit your liability. And on the positive side of the ledger, anyone that reduces carbon from transportation sector is able to generate these credits. And typically electric vehicles are reducing carbon from transportation sector. So they are able to generate these credits. So the project we did was in this car park, which is in the picture here at the city of Santa Clara, as you can see, next to the stadium. They have rooftop solar and I think about 60 or 65 EV charging stations. Some of them are fast charging stations, DC, and some AC charging station. But what Power Ledger enabled was to do firstly verification tracking of where the energy was coming from when these EVs were being charged. If it was coming from renewable, then of course they are able to generate more credits, highest number of credits for 100% renewable energy generation. And also, we provided pricing signal as well that, when's the best time to charge the electric vehicle and when's not a good time to charge the electric vehicle, depending on firstly, the renewable on the grid, and secondly, the price signals for the time of use price of the grid itself. So that project is completed, and we are now looking at scaling up to commercial deployment to other. So EV charging owners can become EV LCFS credit creators, or utilities that supply electricity to these charging stations, or the charging station owner itself could. So one of these could be the anyone in the supply chain could be the LCFS credit generator. So again, a very exciting project, and from pilot we are now scaling it up to commercial deployment. Closer to India, in Southeast Asia, we partnered with the Sustainable Energy Development Authority to do the first national level pilot that we recently completed, and that's kind of leading. There's also for peer-to-peer energy trading, and that's now leading to a bigger project with their national utility TNB, Tanaga National Barrage, and they're designing a kind of much bigger project that'll look at multiple aspects. It will be more classical localized energy market that'll look at managing capacity constraints, supply and demand scenarios, as well as benefits for prosumer consumer through peer-to-peer energy trading using Power Ledger blockchain energy trading platform. T77 BCPG Bangkok project. This was the first of its kind. Is one of the probably most cited peer-to-peer energy trading project globally. And I think World Economic Forum also sort of talked about this and advertised this project as well on their in many of their communications as well. It has multiple commercial and residential buildings which are participating in this peer-to-peer energy trading. It's almost like a gated community. A shopping center, an international school, a dental hospital, and Park Plaza, which is a residential apartment block. They are already participating with about close to 1 megawatt of rooftop solar installed in these on these buildings. It is owned by BCPG, the rooftop solar. So there are PPAs with each of these buildings, which is at 15% cheaper than the grid price. But when they don't use all of that energy that they've committed to buy under PPA, then they can still monetize it by selling it to other peers or other buildings which might need that energy at the time when, for example, the school doesn't need it on Saturday, Sunday. They can sell their excess energy to the shopping center or to the dental hospital. So they can monetize their excess energy or their allocated excess energy and reduce their electricity bill, of course, be part of the renewable economy as well. So that led from one project to multiple other projects in and bigger partnerships for Power Ledger in Bangkok, in Thailand. So we now partnering with the government agency, Provincial Electricity Authority, and BCPG's joint venture. And another big project that we are doing with them in series of many others is at Chiang Mai University, which has got, I think, more than 150 buildings with rooftop solar, adding up to about 12 megawatt of rooftop solar, and also a large battery. In the southern precinct of that campus will be part of Smart Cities project, where battery will also operate like a virtual power plant and provide flexibility services to the grid. So, starting from blockchain-enabled peer-to-peer energy trading to expanding to sort of bigger applications in this space. And again, we've done multiple projects with, or a couple of projects with Kansai Electric Power Company in Japan, which is the second largest utility in Japan, based out of Osaka. First project was around about peer-to-peer energy trading, and the second project included aggregating renewable energy from rooftop solar to creating renewable energy certificates for trading those certificates, including supplying aggregated renewable energy to RE100 companies. Then a whole series of projects in Australia, and the White Gum Valley was one of our very first projects, where there are 3 apartment complexes with multiple dwellings, joint ownership of rooftop solar, or owned by, in some cases, third parties. The residents or apartment owners get allocated share of energy, and if they're not using the energy on Power Ledger platform, they can sell that energy to other peers as well and monetize their share. So benefiting or getting a better return on investment, keeping the electricity bills low and still being part of renewable economy. We also are working with second largest chain of shopping centers here, Vicinity Shopping Center, which I think they've rolled out about close to 30 megawatt of rooftop solar on many of their shopping centers, aggregated 30 megawatt or thereabouts, with a $75 million rollout. And they're utilizing our platform and now looking at integrating batteries as part of this solution to create virtual power plant and energy flexibility solutions for the grids. This is our VPP project, where we're working with Sonnen, the battery provider, and an energy retailer called Power Club in South Australia. And the project is due to be launched in fairly soon. Parts of it is already kind of functional. So we've integrated with household batteries and enabling the participation of these batteries into wholesale electricity market to take energy arbitrage opportunities. And when we have enough batteries that can be above a megawatt capacity, they can participate in FCAS market as well, or frequency control ancillary service market as well. And then we got a large government grant, Australian government grant, to in a project that was Smart Cities and Smart Suburbs project here in the city of Fremantle in Western Australia. So the project had a few components. It had 2 parts, so solar peer-to-peer energy trading, and then overlaying VPP modeling. And the third part is about using a community battery as well. So it demonstrated almost like it provided a blueprint of what could be the perfect model with localized energy markets, where prosumers, consumers get their benefit, but the grid also get a clear benefit and incentive from DERs through flexibility services and virtual power plant participation. So that's pretty much providing a sort of journey of, I mean, I can go through many of the projects, but I just picked a few varied natured projects so that it gives a glimpse of how we are, the kind of solutions that I was talking about, how we are implementing those solutions. And we're implementing those to obviously to arrive at our bigger vision, which is about democratization of power, and to be a real major contributor to transforming energy markets globally and the Paris climate goals, and positively impacting 1 billion people. So it's a huge goal, and we obviously are on track as the technology starts to scale up. You can see the many states, many countries who are looking at these solutions with their population, and now with the smart meter rollout, the physical environment is getting ready. And regulatory environment, there's pretty clear signals around the world. Whether we look at United States, which has just had the ruling of federal ruling of FERC 2222, which enables participation of DERs into wholesale electricity market. So all the ISOs there and RTOs are starting to get ready for enabling that participation in a year's time. We're seeing those regulatory environments changing in Europe as well. And I mentioned Clean Energy Package and Energy Communities Project, Energy Communities Regulation. In India, we are already, huge population and a massive rollout of smart metering already going on. I mentioned 2 states where we're already demonstrating what can be achieved. So it's a big vision, and we are excited about making a real impact in this space. We are largely based out of Australia, but we have global presence. We have partnerships, ambassadors around the world, and staff in US, in Europe, and both on the east and west coast of Australia. And of course, in the context of India, very strong partnership with India Smart Grid Forum. So we, of course, looking forward to taking our solutions, bringing our applications in real sense, and the 2 projects that I mentioned, and many more to come. There are others in the pipeline as well. So that excites us about the possibilities in India. There are some who are already in this forum here who I have interacted with and have very high respect, for the knowledge that they have and the vision that they have for deployment of these new technologies in India. And I suppose we are looking forward to much deeper interaction and hopefully strong presence in the times to come in India. So with that, I close my formal presentation. Of course, I'm open to taking any questions and answers. So once again, thank you very much for inviting me to share my thoughts and Power Ledger journey and Power Ledger solutions, I suppose, which offer opportunity for scaling up of renewable on the grid. So I will stop here and stop sharing my screen, and happy to take any questions.
Hello.
Am I audible? Can I ask?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have very interesting presentation it was. I hope it is very useful and people should learn. It should come into the classrooms also to know this technology, etc. I was really hearing continuously to you. One simple thing I would like to ask, you mentioned somewhere the price will go from $50 to $1,000. So how long this duration will be that part? Because this may affect if it continues for a longer period. So how long, what is the period such change, such thing will happen?
Thank you very much, sir, for this question. And thank you for your comments as well about the value of the presentation. Specific to the question, Australian electricity market, NEM, the National Electricity Market, is a very volatile market. All the generators have to sell all the energy in the market, and then retailers purchase from that market. And it's already happening here, depending on the market conditions, supply and demand, and sometimes outages. Various sort of scenarios emerge. And what I was referring to was price volatility scenarios. They happen not very frequently. Otherwise, retailers will go out of business if they haven't hedged their portfolio properly. So, of course, we also have pretty well-structured derivatives secondary market as well, where they take financial hedging to minimize the risk to their portfolio. But these events and not just $1,000. So the upper limit could be up to $14,500 per megawatt hour. For example, I think in 2019, we had more than 50 half-hourly intervals where the price was extremely high. So yeah, those retailers who don't take proper hedges to cover their risk to this type of price changes can go out of business very quickly. But the point was that there are opportunities in volatile energy market for solutions like what PowerLedger offers with virtual power plant for these renewable energy or distributed energy asset owners to benefit from energy arbitrage opportunities. And in some ways, these distributed energy resources can also act as physical hedges for energy retailers, so they don't have to take financial hedge. They can use their customers' batteries, for example, and when the prices are high, they can use these batteries for dispatching them or using these batteries for their portfolio energy requirement. So yeah, that is real. It happens in Australia. It also happens in California as well, in Texas as well. So any place where there are sort of volatile energy markets, there are higher level of arbitrage opportunities and higher level of risk that need to be managed.
And one added question to this, it may be related with the grid security also, the pricing of these things, okay? Because high price to keep the grid secure. So will this program will take care of technical part, security also, because not only the money part, but security, because they are related, I hope, this car.
Oh, yes, yeah, absolutely. So price signals actually are related. And I think one of my earlier slides, slide number 4 or 5, which was about duck curve, where we talked about negative prices, that are the biggest risk for system security. Because when there are consistent negative prices, then the coal-fired power plant or gas-fired power plant are not able to be scheduled, and they can't ramp down and they can't quickly ramp up. And if they're not available, then the thermal inertia in the grid is missing. So you have issues around minimum generation or min generation that is required to keep the inertia on the grid for transportation of energy. So the system security becomes a real issue. So our platform, that mode product that I was talking about, flexibility services, that enables dealing with those type of scenarios where it can offer quick flexibility services from the DER asset owners to enable dealing with constraints, dealing with enabling the batteries to be dispatched to deal with those types of scenarios.
Young students, they should learn more from these things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. There are many questions in the chat box. Let me pick few, and I would request the participant to reach out Mr. Vinod for further questions. Because of the interest of time, we would not able to take up all the questions, but let me take few. One of them is, does smart contract can be only bilateral or multilateral? If smart contracts are multilateral, how consensus among the participants achieved using blockchain?
Yeah, so PowerLedger uses private consortium blockchain, and it is a Hyperledger or a derivative of Hyperledger. And so we have nodes that it is a proof of authority. So we invite nodes, and again, it is by invitation because it's a private consortium blockchain. So nodes are by invitation, and we're dealing with kind of the market data of electricity meters. So it's a kind of different type of authentication required in these scenarios. Already a kind of validated set of data. But yeah, we do have nodes that can authenticate the transactions. And so yeah, validation is done through distributed ledger where nodes are by invitation.
Follow-up question is, on which platform PowerLedger implements blockchain?
Yeah, so that is, I just answered that part. So it is on private consortium Hyperledger blockchain, yeah.
Follow-up question is, how scalable is the blockchain platform that developed by the PowerLedger?
Yeah, the reason we're using private consortium blockchain is the scalability is not an issue. So we already have, as I mentioned, the projects like in France, we're looking at 250,000 plus type of customers. So yeah, that scalability is already factored in. So we don't have those issues.
The next question is, how the power system security is maintained in this setup?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I think large part of my presentation was devoted to talking about the issues that the grid operators or power system managers are facing, which is about integration of renewable on the grid, which is on one hand, great news. It is bringing the prices down. It is greening the grid, so decarbonizing the grid. But it is coming with its own issues, challenges about how to deal with the flexibilities and how to deal with the intermittency of renewable energy. So our virtual power plant and flexibility solutions, which fall under the category of marketplace for optimized distributed energy, are a solution that offer energy system security.
Okay, perfect. Few more questions I would take before we conclude this session. As we know, the transactions per second in a Bitcoin network is around 10 due to proof of work consensus algorithm, while the Visa can handle around 5,000 to 10,000 transactions per second. How the PowerLedger is overcoming this current limitation of blockchain technology?
Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm not a kind of blockchain coder myself or blockchain techie. I can take it on notice, but of course, as I mentioned, this is a different blockchain application, and we don't have scalability or energy consumption type of issues. But I can take this question on notice, and if this can be sent to me, we'll obviously make sure that it is responded to.
Okay. The follow-up question is, what kind of upgradation is needed in the current smart energy meters to make it compatible with the blockchain?
A great question again, so we can work with almost any smart meter. It's the energy data that we are after, and data in a format that is captured in the interval segments. So as long as we have interval data, which could be 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute interval, and in the right format, which most smart meters actually provide these days, so kilowatt hours and then timestamp, etc. The critical part is this should be able to be communicated to our platform through API interface. So it's the communication protocol, so aggregation of data and then being able to be communicated to our platform. That's the critical key. And so it's already being done in India. Both the UP project and project in Delhi, they are achieving it successfully without any major, without any issues at all. So, you know, it's something that most Indian smart meter sites will be able to, or the meter data agencies that are managing these smart meters would be able to deal with.
The main advantage of P2P trading is cheaper electricity alternatives for the consumers. What strategy Power Ledger is using to avoid P2P trade price going beyond the grid power price, grid electricity price?
So I mean, I would say three clear benefits and multiple benefits actually beyond that as well. So one is obviously the renewable energy asset owner can get better return on investment. So instead of selling back to the grid, as I mentioned, for 2 rupees, you know, they may have opportunity to sell it for 5 rupees for their neighbor, to their neighbor. So better return on investment. And as a consumer, consumer can buy energy cheaper than grid price. So cheaper energy for consumer, yes. Cleaner energy as well, of course. So that's also a very clear advantage. And then it actually depends on the consumer. So our platform allows, it's a marketplace. So, you know, prices can be set by buyers and sellers. They can set their buying prices. Consumers can, prosumers can set their selling prices. So the platform clears through the trading logic, the highest buy price and the lowest sell price, and so on. So it almost creates a bid offer stack. Now, if a consumer wants to value the local green energy higher than the grid price, then maybe they are willing to pay a higher price for peer-to-peer energy trade than grid price. So then the financial considerations are not necessarily the main considerations for it. Is probably for them clean energy and the fact that it is generated within their community, they are valuing that higher than buying from grid price. So we actually noticed in one of our deployments, the Smart Cities, Smart Suburb project, that there were some consumers who were willing to pay higher peer-to-peer price than the grid price, simply because they are valuing that local clean energy higher than buying from grid. So it is about democratization of power. It empowers consumer to put the price that they want to put.
Last question we'll take here. What kind of consumer data? Sorry, before that. In India, RECs are only allowed to be traded once. Is this standard of RECs in Australia and other countries? Is fungibility of RECs and other similar instruments normally allowed in other markets?
No, I'm aware that in India it is a one-time trade, but many markets you would see that there are actual trading of renewable energy certificates. So it can be, you know, from one owner to another until it is surrendered against someone's liability. And then it is obviously retired from the supply chain. So many markets actually allow for trading and like a literal trading from one buyer to another buyer. Maybe at some stage it'll come to India as well. But even if it is a one-time trade, you know, blockchain has its application, and we are actually quite excited to explore that possibility with the renewable energy certificate space in India as well.
Thank you very much. In interest of time, we cannot able to take a few more questions. But as I said earlier, I request the participants who have raised those questions may reach out to Mr. Vinod. I will share this email ID for seeking the clarification on that questions. Thank you very much for your session. It was so interesting, and the blockchain application to energy sector. So we greatly appreciate your time and taking this delivering the interesting session